life of the Holy Prophet and the existence of Islam in the world, not restricted to any class of the believer of any particular age. AP 1. Suhaf, plural of saf, i.e. page, lit. Pages, see note. 2. Refer to. 3. 19, 4. 163 to 165. 3. Submission to God and service to mankind as the standing religion refer to. 25. 30 to 33. 4. Not restricted to any class of the believers of any particular age. AP 5. See Dut. 1815 and 18. 6. See Dut. 1815 and 18. 7. See John 16:13. 8. See 2. 151, 80. 13 to 16. 9. Refer to verses 80, 13 to 14, 53, 36, 37, 87, 18, 19, 20, 133, 10. See 9, 36, 12, 40, 11. For Hanifs, see 2. 135, 12. See 25, 30 to 33. Shares. Surah al-Zilzal, the quaking. Revealed at Mecca. 8 verses in one section. Sections of Surah al-Zilzal. 1. Everyone shall see his own deeds. Al-Zilzal, everyone shall see his own deeds. Whatever man earned of good and evil, will be shown to him on the day of judgment and shall be duly recompensed for it, be it even of an atom's weight. In the name of God the Beneficent the Merciful. When the earth shall quake with her terrible quaking. 199. 1. And the earth bringeth forth her burdens. 99. 2. And man shall say, what hath happened to her? 2. 99. 3. On that day she shall relate her news about all that happened on her. 99. 4. That thy Lord hath revealed unto her. 399. 5. On that day shall come out people from their graves in scattered groups, to be shown their own deeds. 499. 6. Then he who hath done an atomweight of good shall see it. 599. 7. And he who hath done an atomweight of evil shall see it. 699. 8. Commentary. Verse 1 and 2. These verses 1 to 4 refer to the violent effects of destruction and disaster the earth will suffer on the day of judgment. See chapter 88. The whole earth will be quaked and getting reduced to nothing, bursting and throwing out all its contents, even the heaviest of them. Verse 3. Since the disaster will overtake the world all of a sudden, the sudden upheaval and the uprooting of the mountains and the strongest structures on earth and the convulsion of the earth as a whole will only confound man, who will be plunged into a terrific surprise. Verse 4. The earth will declare aloud what all had happened on it. Tamim ibn Hatim says, once we went to Basra, and while we were about to camp, a quake of earth was felt. We were all panicky, but Ali got down from his camel and placing his hand on the ground, addressing the earth, said, what hast happened to thee? The quaking stopped. Lady Fatima reports that once in Medina an earthquake was felt and the people got panicky and rushed to Abu Bakr and Omar, who took the whole multitude to the door of Ali, and Ali came out with perfect peace of mind and took the people outside Medina, and sitting on a mound, addressed the huge crowd and asked them, saying, ye are panicky at this quaking of the earth, what will you do when it will quake before the day of judgment? Saying this, Ali placed his hand on the ground and addressing the earth, said, what hast happened to thee? The quaking stopped and the shaking of the houses of Medina suddenly ceased. Then Ali turned to the multitude and asked, do ye wonder at this? I am the one to whom the earth will speak on the day of judgment, and recited this surah. Ms. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said that, save yourselves from calamities by always being clean with ablutions. Save yourselves by always being regular in your prayers. Beware of your good and evil deeds on earth, for it will disclose everything on the day of judgment. Verse 5. The word of command from the Almighty Lord would have brought the dissolutive and disastrous effect. And the deeds done openly or secretly will be laid bare in the full light of the day. Wahi, or the revelation or instruction or command, need not always be through an angel. 7. This verse indicates the extent of the divine revelation, and that even the earth shall have some sort of receiving the revelation. AP. Verse 6. Since the day of the final judgment will be the day of sorting out the good and the evil stuff in humanity. The dead will be divided into groups of good and bad according to the various levels of their merits and demerits, and rising from their graves, rush to see to know what is there for them by way of their own earning in this world, in the records of their own deeds. 8. This is the first stage of the total resurrection. AP. Verse 7. Note how man is warned of the strictness with which he will be dealt with in the accounting for his deeds. Even the smallest deed, good or evil, will not escape the accounting and will be duly recompensed, and no one will be able to bear the burden of the other 9. In this state every individual will realize his own deeds, good or bad, and the last stage of the resurrection is the judging of the actions, as a whole, i.e. the last stage of Shafa'at al-Kubra. These verses have been taken as to signify that our action here assumes concrete forms on the resurrection day, causing pleasure or pain. AP. 1. C. 70. 7-9. And shall be made manifest whatever is in the breasts' hearts. 110. Verily, their Lord, that day concerning them, will be fully aware. 111. Commentary. Verse 1. Verses 1-5 are the mystic symbols of some event of special importance. Commentators have given some imaginary interpretation to the symbolic use of the words. The truth is that the surah as a whole was revealed on a particular occasion of special importance. The 6th Holy Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq says that the tribes of Bani Salim collected a huge force to make a sudden and a very heavy attack on Medina, to kill the Muslims and to arrest the Holy Prophet and then to torture him. On receiving the news of this gathering of the hostile forces, the Holy Prophet sent an army under one of his companions who ran away from the field and returned utterly defeated, suffering a heavy loss, and owing to his running away from the field, many of the Muslims were killed. The Holy Prophet gave the banner of Islam to another companion and sent him, and he also ran away from the field, with a disastrous defeat and the heavy loss suffered by the Muslim army. Umar al-As offered himself to go to fight the enemy, boasting that he would see the enemy as duly punished, and he was sent, and he also returned with the same result as on the previous 2 occasions. At last the Holy Prophet called Ali and handed over the banner of Islam to him, and placing the defeated companions under him, dispatched him to meet the enemy, himself accompanying Ali up to the mosque of Azab outside Medina. The army marched at night and kept itself concealed at day, and thus he reached the place and made a sudden attack on the enemy's forces at the early hours of the dawn and won an easy victory. Most of the enemy's men were killed, and those remaining, Ali put them in chains and brought them to the Holy Prophet in Medina. When the news of the victorious Ali approaching Medina reached the Holy Prophet, he went out of the city to receive Ali and the victorious soldiers of Islam. Kissing Ali on his forehead, the Holy Prophet said, "O Ali, if there had not been the risk of the people misled to raise thee to the position, as the Christians have done in the case of Jesus, I would have disclosed certain things about thee, after which, people would have sought the dust under thy feet to get the cure for their ailments." The Holy Prophet and the Muslim army had not even entered Medina that the messenger angel Gabriel conveyed this surah to the Holy Prophet. Ms. The first 5 verses of this surah describe the event, praising the activity of the move of the army to defend the truth and its believers under its ever-victorious commander, who saved the faith and the faithful by defeating the enemy and not running away, leaving the Muslim soldiers to their fate in the hands of the triumphant foe to suffer death and destruction. As regards the companions, who ran away from the field and returned defeated on the first 2 occasions, refer to history. References to the glorious march of the chargers of the brave defenders of the faith, running fast, panting. Besides the reference to the particular expedition known as Zatus Salasal, the first 5 verses may refer to the camel, or horse cavalries which were used by the Muslims against the disbelievers, or for pilgrimage. AP. Verse 2. The march being in the night, creating bright sparks of fire by the striking of the hoofs of the chargers on the rocky soil on which they marched. The references to the expedition of the believers led by Ali, surrounding the enemy by surprise in the early hours of dawn, for this justification of the action explains the ungrateful attitude of the enemy who treacherously violated the treaty of peace with the Holy Prophet and killed in cold blood several Muslims. Ghazwa al-Zatus Salasal. AP. Verse 3. The chargers of those who attacked the enemy at dawn, for Ali had made the attack on the enemy in the early hours of dawn and had taken the enemy by surprise. Verse 4. The dust raised by the rush of the chargers, on the enemy, all of a sudden. Verse 5. The actual fall of the believers on the enemy's forces, with the consolidated heaviest pressure on them. Verse 6. The Holy Prophet said the Qanud is the one who eats alone and obstructs others receiving anything from anybody, i.e. grossly selfish, he who receives gifts and wages, war against the benefactor himself. Reference to the enemies of Islam, who though under the obligation of the grace of God, reject the belief in him and wage war on the believers. Verse 7. The selfish and the ungrateful disbeliever proves his selfishness and ingratitude by his own deeds, without the necessity of evidence from anybody else. He shall be in a life, well pleased with 101. 7. And as for him whose scales with good deeds are light 101. 8. His home shall be, Havia, a burning abyss 3101. 9. What maketh thee know what, Havia, is? 101. 10. It is a raging fire 101. 11. Commentary. Verse 1. Karya, i.e. a tremendously clamorous striking noise which will accompany the inauguration of the great calamity, the earth will suffer at the dawn of the day of judgment when the whole of the present order of the world will undergo a thorough change, giving place to a totally new atmosphere of a new state of the existence of a new world, of a new order of realities, with total wiping out of all false appearances and false values. Verse 2-3. Since anything similar to the terrible experience of the clamorous noise mentioned here has never been experienced by anyone in the world, it is an impossibility even to correctly imagine what the noise would be like. Verse 4. Out of the terror, the clamorous voice will create in the minds of the people. They will be running, bewildered on all sides in tumultuous multitude, out of the fear and the tumult, each falling over the other, like the tiny insignificant being, the moths scattered by a violent stormy wind. This is to give an imaginable view of the confusion and distress and helplessness man will be thrown into, all of a sudden. Verse 5. When even the solid and immovably and unshakably fixed huge mountains will be scattered in the atmosphere, like the insignificant flakes of the carter's wool. 4. Verse 6. On that day nothing but the deeds, good and bad, will be counted. The appraisement, valuation, measuring or the weighing, will be strictly to the real value of each deed, and deed means any deed of the physical body given to man, and as well as the activity of the mind, i.e. the various faculties he has been endowed with. Every action, physical and mental, will be weighed, viz. the motives, passions, thoughts, imagination, feelings, aspirations, love, hatred, the degree of faith in God, anil the extent of the disbelief in him, and the attitudes, etc. And whosoever's measure of his good deeds will exceed the measure of his evils, will receive the blissful life with which he will naturally be pleased. Verse 8-9. And whosoever's evils will exceed his good deeds will be thrown into the abyss, and Havia is interpreted to be the abyss or the depth, the bottom being immeasurably low in an unfathomable depth. Verse 10. As man in this life cannot rightly imagine the like of what the Karya, mentioned in the verse 1 above, will be, he cannot correctly visualize the likeness of the abyss called Havia, which will be the abode of the wicked. Verse 11. The simplest note of description of the abyss, Havia, is that it is a blazing fire, and the rest of it to be experienced and known when it is given to the wicked on the day of judgment. 1. Loosened. Refer to 70. 9. 2. Refer to 57. 25. 55. 8. 42. 17. 77. 20-21. 3. It may also mean tending towards the abyss. 4. See 77. 20-21. Shares. Surah at-Takathur, vying in exuberance. Revealed at Mecca. 8 verses in one section. Sections of Surah at-Takathur. 1. Exuberance engages men. At-Takathur, exuberance engages men. Exuberance engages man, diverting him from the real object of life. Man will know his folly when he will reach his grave. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. Engageth one you your vying in exuberance 102. 1. Until ye come to the graves 102. 2. Nay, soon shall ye know your folly 102. 3. Nay, nay, soon shall ye know your folly 102. 4. Nay, would that ye knew it with the knowledge too, of certitude nature 102. 5. That ye shall certainly see the hell 102. 6. Then, ye shall certainly see it with the vision 3 of Certitude 102. 7. Then shall ye be questioned on that day, about the bounties ye enjoined 102. 8. Commentary. Verse 1. The occasion for the revelation of this surah has been reported to be that the people of Bani Abd al-Manaf, Bani Qusay and Ibn Sam ibn Omar, got busy in a mutual contest of pritting over each other, the strength, their number and the matter went to the extent of counting even the dead among them, to the sides, and once when one of the parties fell short of one to win over the others, a grave was opened and the dead lying therein was counted. This surah was revealed. Refers to the total indulgence into the material acquisitions in this world which, not only generates the moral and the spiritual aspect of the individual but also takes away all the time more and more, it is leaving no time for seeking the higher objects of the real and the permanent value in the life hereafter, which is eternal, while every material acquisition has only an imaginary and timely value in which one leaves behind when he or she passes away from this world. Besides, everything of the material wealth is liable to pass away from the acquirer to somebody else, but every spiritual and moral or intellectual acquisition is inseparable from the individual, and goes along with the acquirer when he passes away from the world to the next. In this chapter, reference is made to the different stages of human realization of the life of the hereafter, corresponding to the degree of one's disengagement from the attractions, towards accumulation of the material stuff, of which the first stage, common to all, is the visits to graveyards, which have been commended by Islam and prevented by some fanatics. AP. Verse 2. To the extent of the people counting the dead in the graves, or that man gets involved in vying with each other, and the people are lost in it, and for the best of acquisition engage themselves in piling wealth over wealth until they meet death, being fit for nothing but to be laid in the grave. Verse 3 and 4. The repetition in the same statement is to lay stress and to give to force it, that surely without fail will men know the real value of the wealth with which they vie with each other and spend their whole life in acquiring it, for it will be of no value or avail to them when they meet death and in the life hereafter. 4. The fate of those who pile wealth in this life. 4. Verse 5. Men will know the real value of their motives and deeds is certainty of their knowledge, when they pass from this life to the hereafter and on the day of final judgment. Certainty of knowledge has been described to have stages. 1. What one only hears about, ilm al-yaqeen, i.e. the mere information about what is said, to a certainty. 2. What one sees with one's eyes, the visual knowledge of that which exists, ain al-yaqeen, is said in verse 7 below in this surah, seeing the hell with the eyes. 3. The realization or the knowledge proper is the personal experience with the thing, is, haq al-yaqeen, i.e. the realization of the truth about the thing, is said in 69:51. Verse 6. The deniers of the day of requital shall themselves see hell. Verse 7. They will see it with their own eyes, and they will know about it as certainty, and when they will be thrown in it, they will then know what it actually is, i.e. the realization of the truth about hell. Verse 8. Man will be questioned about the bounties of God which had been granted to him. Some commentators say that man will have to account for everything which he was given in this world. It is reported to have been told by the Holy Prophet that man will not be asked about 1. The garments he used to cover his shame. 2. The food he took in hunger. 3. What he spent in the way of the Lord. The 8th Holy Imam Ali ibn Musa ar-Rida told a man that, a man does not like burdening anyone with any obligation about what is gifted to him. How could God ask for everything he has himself granted out of his grace? But what God will ask man to account for, is about the belief in him and the belief in the truthfulness of the Holy Prophet and the Al-Bayt. Shafi'i reports in his Mark, Hayatul Hayawan, saying that Abu Hanifa said that once when he was in Mina for the pilgrimage, the barber who sat to give him a shave, wanted him first to turn the right side of his head, turn to the direction of the Holy Kaaba and say, Bismillah, i.e. in the name of God. Abu Hanifa said that he learnt the doctrines from the barber for the first time in his life. On being asked his identity, the barber said that he was the slave of the 6th Holy Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq. Abu Hanifa wanted to know the residence of the Holy Imam but was not given admittance into his audience. When some Kufis got the admittance, he got in, joining the Kufis, and while talking to the holy Imam, said, "O son of the Holy Prophet." Every holy Imam was known and addressed as the son of the Holy Prophet. "Why dost thou not send someone on thy behalf to Kufa, where a multitude of the people abuse the companions of the Holy Prophet?" The holy Imam replied, "The people would not listen to me." Abu Hanifa in a wonder asked, "What? To thee, the son of the Holy Prophet, the people would not listen?" The holy Imam said, "One of them is thyself. I had not permitted thee, and yet thou hast entered the house. And I hear that thou dost decide matters based upon thine own gestures." Abu Hanifa accepted and said, "Yes, I do guess in matters of doubt and decide about them as I guess to be right." The holy Imam replied, "Woe unto thee, O Nu'man." That was the name of Abu Hanifa. The first one to guess was Iblis, the Satan, who, defying the Lord's command to pay obeisance to Adam, had said, "Thou didst create me with fire and Adam with clay," and did not carry out the Lord's command, saying. Verse 1. Asr, i.e., age, which is the continuity of time. The word asr, meaning age or time, is used in a mystic use. Commentators say it is a reference to the age of the Holy Prophet, i.e., a period when the Lord's promised last reformer and final lawgiver was sent into the world and stayed preaching the truth and taught men the correct ways and means by which man can rise from the ignoble and the loathsome depth of the material world into the glorious heights of spiritual bliss. Some commentators take the word asr to mean the ceremonial afternoon prayer, and the sixth holy Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq says it is a reference to the age when the last one of the promised guide or Imam, in the seed of the Holy Prophet who bears the same name, Muhammad, who is the son of the 11th Holy Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Askari, who is titled Mahdi, taking the reference to either the age of the Holy Prophet or his last deputy on earth, the last Holy Imam. It will mean one and the same significance to say that those who will be benefited by the teachings or the guidance of the great teacher will be the ones guided aright, and those who reject any one of these two, the last apostle from the Lord or the last one of the Lord's commissioned guides or imams, is lost. Asr literally means squeezing, or the squeezed object. It has been figuratively used for time, in the sense of its becoming, meaning the squeezed of the past which unfolds as future. The other two verses give the justification of this meaning. The state of ever folding and the unfolding ascribed to time in its relation to the events falling within it represents the state of the Imam as a microcosm and a medium between the infinite one and the finite ones, and as such the Imam has been termed in the language of the al-Bayt as the Madarid Dar, i.e. the axis of the age and the actuating factor behind it. AP. Verse 2. It is needless to go into the details that man amidst innumerable temptations, is always caught in the lust for the satisfaction of his carnal desires, thus under the risk of being easily beguiled by the innumerable and the most powerful and irresistible attractions. And if man is not on his guard against all the formidable forces of Satan, who is ever active to lead man astray, man suffers the loss of the pleasure of his Lord, which is the loss of his own salvation, the loss real. It is said that this is, as well, a reference to the taunt of Abu Jahl and Walid ibn Mughira, who said that the Holy Prophet and his followers are the losers, for they have abandoned the worship of their ancestral gods and have given up themselves to someone God. This verse clearly addressing the one who holds any such false idea says that he who says that the Holy Prophet and his followers are in a loss, is himself in the loss. Verse 3. Those who believe may include every believer to the extent or the degree of the strength of his conviction or faith, and those who will be meant here with the fullest application of the term will be only those who satisfy to the fullest extent the owning of the several great qualities of a believer mentioned by God. 3. The believers are those from whom God has purchased their wealth and their lives in exchange for his pleasure with them. 9. 111. Those who hold the Holy Prophet in preference to their own souls. 33. 6. The perfection or the purity in the faith can never be found in any other than those whom God himself has purified. 33. 33 To be the models of purity in every aspect of goodness in the life on earth. Thus, those who are referred here immediately are the holy al-Bayt. When asked the explanation of this surah, the Holy Prophet said that, those who are safe and whose Faith and deeds are totally correct and perfect are my al-bayt, i.e. Ali and the Imams in his seed. And those who reject me or them, or in the loss ms. As regards the preaching of the truth, who else could do it duly, save those who must themselves be fully conversant with it and even realized it by their own conviction and the strength of faith. The Holy Prophet had said that, I and Ali are of one and the same light and, Ali is always with the truth and the truth will always be with Ali. The preaching of the truth needs knowledge of it, and the Holy Prophet had said I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. The preaching of the truth needs the knowledge of the final word of God, i.e. the Holy Quran and the Holy Prophet had said, I leave behind me two weighty very important things. The Book of God, i.e. the Holy Quran and my al-bayt, if ye be attached to these two, never, never shall ye get astray. And never, never, will these two get separated from each other until they meet me at the house, or cistern of Kauthar in heaven. Thus, the immediate application of this reference could rightly be only to Ali or the al-bayt collectively and those according to their attachment to these holy ones. As far as the enjoining of patience is concerned, the preachers themselves must have the quality of patience to the maximum degree possible, and who else could be compared to have exercised more patience in this world than the holy al-bayt who suffered untold miseries, tortures and even a wholesale massacre of all their dear ones. None of the 11 holy Imams left this world with a natural death, all of them suffered martyrdom. Enjoining of goodness and preaching abstinence from evil has been referred to as the qualities of the best of the nations, i.e. the holy al-bayt 4, and this has also been prescribed and made incumbent on the believers 5. The best of the people can be only those whom God himself had purified 33. The others, according to the degree of the purification they would have achieved, and very avaricious to pile up wealth, and was very much infatuated of his extraordinary economic position and his social influence. Akhnas was busy slandering the apostle of God and spreading false notes against the truth preached by him. This surah was revealed with the immediate application of the reference to Akhnas and his comrades, but it applies to everyone among the believers, warning them against the evil qualities mentioned in it. Wail means, woe he unto, but is said to be a place in hell with the worst degree of torments or a deep, woeful pit. Humaza, one who taunts, and lumaza, i.e. one who backbites or defames or does slandering. The immediate reference applies to Akhnas and also to Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Both of these mischief mongers were busy spreading slanders against the Holy Prophet and his mission as the Apostle of God. The quality of avarice, the lust for amassing wealth, was in the slanderers, Akhnas and Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Though the immediate application of the reference may be to those particular ones, but the condemnation of the quality applies in general to everyone who might be a victim to the evils. Counting, mentioned here indicates the anxiety on the part of the owner to know that his wealth has not been diminished and also to be repeatedly assured of the extent of his acquisition, for he thinks that more the wealth he owns, the safer and happier he would be. Verse 3. The question here is a warning to the one who avariciously piles up wealth that whatever amount of it one might possess, it shall go, and shall not remain with him forever, for he has to pass away from here empty-handed as a destitute. Hence, if anyone thinks that his wealth will abide with him forever, he is fooled by his imagination, for it is a matter of certainty that it is only a passing show, with a great many commitments with it, in its disposal. Why should man toil more than what he must reasonably do, and why should he be proud of a thing which is of only a temporary value and of no permanent worth or use to him? And if he acquires it even by the right means, he is accountable to the Lord about its proper disbursement and disposal, and if he acquires it by any foul means, he is to be surely punished for it. The first holy Imam Ali ibn Abu Talib says, what ye bring forth the children is for dust, to die and get buried. What ye amass, i.e. wealth, is to he left behind. What ye construct buildings is to be demolished by time. But what ye act the deeds is to he recorded and piled up for the day of the final requital. Verse 4. The root of hutama is hatima, i.e. getting rendered or broken into pieces, i.e. it will be crushed, destroyed and thrown into hell before the eyes of those who spent their lives in amassing it and prided over it and got intoxicated of it, thinking it to be of a permanent value to them, deprived the others of 1. The fellows of the elephants. Al-Fil, the fellows of the elephants. How the hosts of the infidel enemy was crushed to death by small stones of baked clay thrown upon them by tiny creatures, the birds. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. What? Hast thou not seen how thy Lord dealt with the fellows of the elephant? 105. 1. Didst he not cause their device to err? 1105. 2. And sent he down upon them birds in flocks? 105. 3. Pelting them with stones of baked clay? 105. 4. Thus rendered them like straw, eaten up by cattle. 105. 5. Commentary. Verse 1. The whole surah refers to the memorable, miraculous event in the history of Arabia and particularly about the providential survival of the Holy Kaaba against the unrepulsible attack of a formidable army of a very strong and fully equipped foe. Abraha, the Christian viceroy of the king of Abyssinia at Yemen, invaded Mecca with the determination to destroy the Holy Kaaba, for it stood in the way of his giving the desired prominence to his own built church at Sana'a, which he wanted to make a center of commerce and a place of pilgrimage for the people. This was in the very year of the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Abraha's army consisted also of elephants, which the common Arabs could have hardly had any opportunity to see one in their lives. Hence the army of Abraha is called in the history as Ashabul Fil, i.e. the fellows or those who were accompanied with elephant. Approaching the outskirts of Mecca, Abraha's men captured 700 camels belonging to Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Holy Prophet, which were grazing in the open fields outside the city. Abraha sent an ultimatum to Abdul Muttalib, who was the supreme chief of Mecca, intimating to him his intention of destroying the Holy Kaaba. Abdul Muttalib said that he would meet Abraha in person and talk to him. When Abdul Muttalib approached the military camp, he was received respectfully, and Abraha gave him an honorable seat near him and asked the purpose of his visit. Abdul Muttalib said that he had come to complain to Abraha about Abraha's men taking away his camels, and to request him to restore his animals to him. Abraha laughed and said, "What? I have come to destroy your place of worship, the house of your God, and you, instead of pleading to save the holy house, you speak of your camels." Abdul Muttalib replied, "Look, the camels belong to me, and I, as their owner, have come for them. The Kaaba belongs to God, and it is the concern of the owner of the Kaaba to save it or to leave it to its fate in your hands." Abraha was stunned at the reply and allowed Abdul Muttalib to have his camels, and Abdul Muttalib, returning to the city, advised the citizens to take refuge in the mountains around the city to be safe from being hurt by the invaders. As Abraha entered the city, a huge flock of tiny birds, like a patch of a cloud, appeared in the sky, each bird with a small stone in its tiny beak, and dropped it on the invading soldiers. And the stone fell exactly on the men, and they were instantaneously killed and fell lifeless. Abraha was left to escape, but one bird followed him over his head until he, reaching the king at Abyssinia, reported the matter to him, and the king asked him what kind of birds were those that acted so miraculously.